Every NBA draft has a few of those players that go way lower than they should have. Over the course of their NBA careers, they proved they should have gone much higher, and they make us ask why they fell as far as they did in the draft, because they returned top 5 to 10 or maybe even top 1 to 3 value. I believe the next in line for that is current Atlanta Hawks rookie AJ Griffin. The 16th overall pick in the 2022 NBA draft out of Duke has proven he was well worth a pick much higher than that early on in his rookie year. Despite the fact that he's one of the youngest players in the NBA, despite the fact he's on a team trying to compete, and in a rotation that's really hard to crack, especially for a rookie, he has proven that he's one of the best rookies in basketball and should have gone much higher. He's one of the most physically gifted wings from a frame perspective. He's one of the most versatile shooters. He has the potential to be even more than a shooter. However, despite his absurd shooting profile and physical tools at this young of an age, what impresses me most with AJ Griffin is something that won't be noticed by people who didn't watch him before the NBA or even before college. AJ Griffin is a player who's viewed as someone with potential to be a high-end number 3 option in terms of a ceiling, and rightfully so given his skill set and potential. It's an insult to believe a player could end up as a high-end 3rd option. That's still a potential fringe all-star outcome for a player. But there was a point in time where AJ looked like he had potential to be even more than that. In the 7th and 8th grade, he was playing varsity basketball in Austin, New York, alongside a future National Player of the Year and top 10 pick in Obi Toppin, who was a senior at the time. AJ would attend Archbishop Stepinac for his high school career. By his sophomore year, he became one of the best players in his class. He was averaging around 21 points, 11 rebounds, 4 assists, and 3.5 blocks as a 15-year-old in high school, playing against pretty good competition in New York. He averaged around 18 points per game, 9 rebounds per game, and 2 assists per game, as well as 2 blocks per game as a 16-year-old junior. He was a high-flying athlete that showcased his shot-creating profile, 3-point shooting, passing flashes, and defensive upside. And when you combine that with his young age for his class, you get someone that showed top 3 pick potential and maybe even number 1 pick potential. Based off his sophomore and junior years of high school tape-wise, he showed Paul George, Jimmy Butler kind of potential, and I don't think that's an exaggeration. However, not everything would go to plan. AJ would suffer a knee injury his junior year of high school that would cause him to miss most of the season, and he missed his entire senior season with an ankle injury. Then at Duke, he would injure his knee in practice again before the season, which caused him to have a slow start, and he would have to work his way back into the rotation. He would eventually become a full-time starter about 25% into the season. These instances would alter the trajectory of AJ's path to the NBA and really the outcomes of what I think he could have been. I know this sounds like a hot take, but I truly believe if AJ Griffin doesn't deal with these injuries that affected his athleticism and trajectory, we are talking about someone who could have been the 1st overall pick, and in my opinion, would have been the 1st overall pick, because when I was doing way too early draft rankings for this class, he was number 1 for me before the injuries, and I felt like I didn't have him number 1 in my mock draft before the season, but I did talk about how he could work his way back up to number 1 if he proves he can get back to that level of athleticism. These injuries clearly changed AJ as a pure athlete though. He wasn't the quick first step, high-flying guy that he was on tape prior to the injuries when he was in high school. It also changed the way AJ approached the game. He didn't attack the basket in college nearly as much as he did in high school. Attacking the basket was a big part of his game in high school. He was way more jump shot reliant as a player, and honestly, it flipped. In high school, AJ was a guy who used attacking the basket and used the ability to be a good shooter as a supplement. In college, he used finishing at the basket as a supplement to a jump shot reliant game. If he doesn't have these injuries that were roadblocks in his development, we see nearly a completely different player. We see a 6'6", 220-pound, near 7-foot wingspan guard wing that's an elite vertical athlete with a good first step, powerful slasher, good shot creator, great shooter, and shows potential as a passer and defender. that would have been a top 3 lock at the very least, and considering AJ Griffin is a full year younger than the actual top 2 picks in 2022, who's not to say AJ couldn't have gone first overall if he was this kind of player? Now, we will never know what this reality will look like, but I do think AJ, without injuries and a trajectory without any roadblocks, given the skills and athleticism he showed in high school, would have been top 1 to 3 pick worthy. However, regardless of if AJ could have been the number 1 pick or not without injuries, or whether you agree with this or not, the actual real life outcome of what AJ Griffin has been in the NBA is a testament to just how special of a talent AJ is. Because despite the fact that injuries changed a lot for AJ, he adapted, he showed the signs in other areas, and proved that despite the injuries changing his athleticism and his mindset about scoring, he still was a great prospect. He showed he had potential to be one of the best shooters in the NBA. He's arguably the best one-and-done shooting prospect I've ever seen. He was uber efficient on decent to good volume. He was a versatile player in terms of shot profile. He could shoot off the catch, he could shoot off movement, spot up, and off dribble. He could hit threes, he could hit mid-range shots, had deep shooting range. He had a pretty decent handle. Sure, he wasn't a great athlete anymore. Sure, he wasn't a great explosive finisher at the basket anymore. He wasn't even a good defender necessarily. But this was still a 6'6", 220-pound, long-arm wing with shot-creating potential and legitimate top 5 shooter in the world upside. That also happens to be extremely young for his draft class. If it wasn't for injury concerns, and this might sound odd to say considering how much I talked about injuries and how they changed his game, they kinda were overblown in my opinion. I still felt like even with injury concerns, he was well worth going much higher than he actually did. But regardless, if there were no injury concerns, AJ Griffin would have been a top 10 pick, and he's proving in his rookie season he was worth a top 10 pick. He's an elite shooter with a great shot profile, he attacks closeouts well, and he's showing potential in other areas. What makes this all so impressive is that he's had things that changed the trajectory of his career. He had injuries that changed the way he had to play, and not only did he make those changes, he still ended up being a high-end prospect with a lot of potential. It takes a special talent to do that, and AJ has done it. AJ will continue to show for years why he's a bright young star in this league, and why he should have never fallen to the 16th overall pick.